Thank you.
You bet.
Are we ready? Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody for coming. We have minutes from the January 7th meeting. Do I have a motion to
I would
approve?
move to approve those minutes.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We have no road encroachments, so that brings us to Paul, planning board appointments. As I was discussing with Mel, I'm trying to bring the board book up to standard, so we've been working on that. So thank you, Paul, for getting back to me on this.
Sure. So there's 4 members whose terms would be expiring. 3 of the 4 said that they would seek a reappointment to the board. And those are Leona Haida Cooper, Alice Copenhaver, Ward Fifield. The 4th is a representation from the city of Choteau. And they are asking that person change from Dan Lannon to Chris Hinduin and be appointed for a 3-year term.
And Chris is willing to
Yep.
be on the board too.
He is.
Okay, I think we can do that with one motion, guys.
I believe so.
I'd move to accept Paul's members.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. It's nice when you have an interest in a board, because
Mm-hmm.
it's always difficult to maintain the membership.
Paula, did you get all those? Very good.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That brings us to the EMS budget resolutions, and I'll let Paula explain this, or do you want me to explain it? It was just the resolutions on the CARES Act, correct?
She received all of her equipment, so we had to transfer the monies that we spent for the striker. Was that the big one for the?
Yep, it's for the cots and the
Mel, did I send you?
chairs.
Didn't see that one, Paula.
I'll give it to you.
Thanks.
So this is resolution 21-10, and it's to move the money into the EMS account.
It's a budget amendment to increase their budget first.
Oh, the first one's to increase the budget, the second one's to move
To
it.
transfer the money.
Okay. So I need a motion on the resolution 21-10 to increase the EMS budget.
I would so move.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Then we have the resolution 21-11, which is the authorization to transfer the funds.
I would move that we transfer those, sir.
And I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those are the simple ones.
Okay.
That brings us to the power water file.
I know, and you were gonna come early to look through to make sure I did that all right and got them all.
It was all right.
Okay.
It's all good.
Thanks.
It's all good because we're not there yet. You don't have a contract yet. So this is a little preemptive. So, power water. Actually,
So you're saying we don't need to do all this today?
Oh no, I'm saying that if we have more, which we will, it's okay. So you should be receiving a contract from the Department of Commerce soon. Quick update is USDA. I'm just going to stand up because I can't see around. In the
When you need to get here, get on the camera.
So they received USDA funding finally, which I had told you at the previous meeting. So we're working through that with some letter of conditions. There's some concern because for bonding, they have to do a special assessment bond. Thus, I need to speak with your planner because it's going to be a lot and take a lot. And they tried to talk to USDA to possibly do revenue bonds instead, and they weren't willing to move any on that. So we're working through all of those issues. Everything has been submitted for the water rights because they have to obtain new water rights for the wells. It's all been submitted to DNRC. So we'll see what happens within the next year because they said it'll probably take a year, which puts this project back a year. They had hoped to be moving forward with construction and things this spring, but now it's going to be put off a year. They're starting on the engineering. I will be working with you and Paula, and Melody will be involved on the Fonzie, NOFI, all of the legalities for the environmental reviews. All those letters have to be sent, which the engineering firm typically does because they look at all of that. And there's a ton of public notices and different processes through that. So we'll be starting that process. We're starting the discussion, so it'll probably be a month or two to get going on that. So the paperwork that you have in front of you,
Can I just ask you,
Yeah.
who's the engineering firm?
it's TD&H. Camille Johnson is our contact. She's actually from Sims, and she's working on the Sims project too. So it's pretty good. She's really good. So, so we have USDA in place. So now we can sign contracts with everyone else. Found out that RRGL through DNRC does have money now. They had to wait for funding to come in, their yearly funding, because it comes from the interest in things. So they have funding now, so we're waiting on contracts to come through. They signed, Power, Water, and Sewer signed the contract for DNRC. The CDBG contract will be coming to you guys, to you gentlemen, and to Paula. So I will check with Matt Blank, who is our contact at CDBG, and TSEP. We have one person for two programs, which is fantastic, to find out where that is in the process. So these documents are required for every community development block grant. They must be, because community development block grants are a grant from the federal government from Housing and Urban Development. And then the states each do their own process with these, but these are requirements that HUD has because CDBG is primarily to be used for low and moderate income people, which was the survey that we had hand-delivered and things in Power a couple years ago when they didn't have a post office. So they qualified because of that, because looking off of the census statistics, the income levels were far higher. So it's always interesting how the American Community Survey works with that. But these documents are all the civil rights documents. You have to have them updated and on file. You're one of the few counties that has completed and gone through an ADA transition plan and there hasn't been any changes and you don't have any new properties. So you're one of the few that doesn't have to go through that whole process and work on it every time. So we had these drawn up previously when we were working with the hospital district. We just didn't get all the way through because that wasn't funded. So these are more of a formality, kind of a check the box to make sure everything's in, but the state has to have all of their boxes checked, which means we have to have all of ours to make sure it's all done. So that's what this is, and then we're just waiting on the contract, and then we'll move forward on the environmental public process too. They're also working on the easements for where the lines will go and things over with the property. At the same time, they're doing the planning and things like that, and they'll have to have some public notifications and things with that process as well. So it's finally moving now that they have the USDA funding. I just we'll have to wait on the water rights and things too. The contacts currently for Power and Water and Sewer, since Representative Fitzgerald is in Helena, is James Rain with Smoot Honey, and then Jean and Carol Walker with the district. So we've even made sure to keep that all up so we don't fall behind waiting for signatures or anything like that. And I think that's it.
So this is all the preliminaries to start the project.
Yes.
And it's all locked into, I mean, it's different segments, but it's all one document to start it.
There's quite a few documents.
There's a
There's a packet of
But I
documents.
think we could have the motion just to
Right,
do
it's
the,
a packet, I just
To
kept
sign the
each
packet of
one
documents.
separate.
Yep.
To make
Yeah,
sure
I
that I
think-
had everything correctly inserted, correctly
Yep.
completed. I just kept them separate, there was a couple of them that it looks, should this be on letterhead, should this not be on letterhead, so I made them both ways. So that way, I'm not running trying to
Yeah.
get documents
Well,
and
and
so.
because you have to sign them and they have to be resolutions and things, you have
Right.
to do that official
Right.
vote on
And-
them, even if everything's all up to date.
Well, and there are
Mhm.
3 resolutions I
Yes.
think there, so you will have to, that's why I tried to keep them all. You want me to take those and tell you which ones you need?
well, the resolutions are in the back, aren't they?
No, they're.
Hatch Act, fair housing,
So it's, some of them are on the
and
back page,
budgetary authority.
so,
These 3 are resolutions. We'll have to have a separate motion for each of those.
but I made resolutions, where are they? I mean, I printed resolutions off.
And it is a lot for the civil rights chapter. They have a lot of resolutions, and
Oh, no.
this is a little more simple
But see, that
than
goes with
housing
this.
sometimes.
See,
is.
that's why I
Housing
had to
actually
keep them
costs
together.
even more.
So here's a
Oh.
resolution, there's a.
How long does this whole
resolution.
process take?
For the water project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just,
Or does it just vary from?
3 years, and now we're going
you
on
had
4
12,
or
right?
5.
There's 12.
okay,
I'm
yeah.
not sure if she needs that
Because
one
they
yet.
received TSEP, Treasure State
One more.
Endowment Funds,
Mm-hmm.
and the RGL DNRC funds
these
in the
two
last
resolutions as
legislative
well.
session.
Oh, okay.
So we're 2 years out
There it
from
is,
that
13.
funding
There we
already,
go.
and prior to
And
that,
this
So that
one,
would
I
be
have
14.
submitted the application for the Army Corps of Engineers border grants, and they have
Mhm.
received that.
because they're all messed
So,
up.
and then they
because-
received
I found
CDBG
resolutions
after that, right after, the last legislative session, so it's been since
But we can do the packet
2019
first,
that we've had
and then do the
to
resolutions
kind
one
of
at a time.
Yeah, and I'm just.
finish some
gonna put it-
environmental stuff that had to be completed before we could even submit for USD rural development. We didn't realize that at the time.
Mhm.
So,
What's the total value on the
Just
project
missed
right
it.
now?
And I
We're
might
good.
have it, but I'll fix it.
Yeah.
well, it
Okay.
started
That's why I
at
had them all.
2.6 million,
It's all
and
one
just did
thing.
the
It's
updated
just
budget,
the
so I have that
resolutions.
Well, we can just
firmly
pass
in,
this as a packet.
my head.
Yes.
Okay.
And I
And
can
those are the
send
three
you
resolutions.
kind of the.
Sorry about
send
that.
you our
No problem.
blank uniform service funds and does everything. The other thing that happened, let me find it really quick. The other thing that happened is that when USDA went through the application and things, because Power's been really good about building up kind of a contingency fund, because their sewer's not doing well and their water plant is questionable, especially in the wintertime when ice and things come through and all of that. So they have quite a bit of money in an account. They have to spend that down. They have to do a local match component ahead of any USDA monies or anything else like that. They can receive funding from CDBG, TSEP, WRDA, and all that, but before USDA will release anything, it's $166,000 that the district has to allocate for the project. There is a small amount of money that can be done at the back end, the final walkthrough and report and the final audit and things like that. But they have to expend that amount of funding prior to being able to spend USDA as well.
Hmm.
So it's,
So they
That
need
was-
to expend the 166,000 before they can utilize any USDA funds.
yes, yep. Or the agreed to amount, because I think there's $7,000 or $8,000 on the end, let me grab this, that they can spend at that point, but, currently, they're trying to do that. They also, USDA also requires short-term financing for their portion of the loan. So basically, they have to take out a loan to cover the USDA loan. And then, once they get through that, USDA pays off the interest. It's written into the budget. And, yeah, it's so, you know, they don't expend money and people run away. And they have to use their loan funds prior to using their grant funds as well. So, it's quite a process. I've never...
Convoluted is the word?
Well, and it's USDA. I've never done so much with them. Every other project they have done has been state revolving funds, SRF funds. But the
Commissioner's
interest rate
office is different,
for
I know.
USDA is a little less, and SRF does forgive part of the loan, but they only forgive up to $500,000, and they're actually
And
scheduled to
if you
receive
could call
$800,000 in grant from
Call you
USDA.
or write
So,
it in the meeting right
had to jump through all of those hoops to
now. Probably half
get this
hour.
project completed. 3.37, 300. So 3.37 million. And when I started, it was 2.6. But we also had to increase the contingency fund for the project from 10% to 20%. So that was a big jump that made the contingency fund over $500,000. So that was a big bit, and we're hoping that they can get through without using all of the contingency. So that's the total update as to where we are.
Okay,
So you need
I've got,
a motion for the packet?
yeah, I'll do the motions, then we'll have the discussion, Paul.
yep,
So we need a motion on the packet for the Power, Water, and Sewer District.
Wait, I think you need to do the resolutions.
Resolutions first?
Because you
Okay.
need to do the resolutions.
Start with
Because they're
Resolution
included in the-
2109, which is my favorite one of the whole package. It designates me as the environmentally certifying official.
I
So-
move to approve that one.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
On that, you had originally, when this was submitted, Jim Hotchkiss was the certifying
Can't
officer.
we just leave Jim?
So you had done this already a couple years ago, if it looks familiar, but we had to update it. And a funny story is the new person I have working for us, he put Sam's name on everything, and I'm like, I don't think he's gonna be
I
chairman.
like that guy.
Yeah, I know.
Doesn't
He's
have to be the
fantastic.
chairman.
But Glacier County elected their new person chairman, so,
Huh.
new lady chairperson, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary Jo. Anyway, sorry. So
Okay.
if it's familiar, that's why.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Then we have Resolution 21-12. And this is just receiving the CDBG funds.
But I do have a question on that, because there's a sticky on there saying, do we do the resolution now to distribute the funds, even though we haven't received them?
Well, and you don't have the contract yet. I was
It's-
hoping
it's-
you'd,
It's establishing the authority, so I think we
Right,
can
but
do
there's
it
no
now.
figures in there, that's why, because there was no budget to go with it.
the budget didn't come through when I sent it.
No, that's
It's
why I wanted
the-
you to come early.
Yeah.
So, is it something we can amend later if we have to?
Well, it's $450,000. It's the total amount of the grant,
Okay.
is what it is.
And that says that right on the top.
Right, but then it tells you what goes to expenses, what blah, 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 blah.
I can send you the budget attachment.
Okay. All right.
And I can tell you what they are right now if you
No,
like.
well, that's okay, well, let's just get through this, we can fill that in later, I mean, that's not, I wanna put it on the computer, so.
Yeah.
I have everything that was submitted.
So do we have a motion for 21-12?
I would so move.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. This brings us to 21-13, and that's just the Hatch Act. It just says that we will obey, we'll play by the rules. So if I have a motion on that,
I would move to approve that one.
Second?
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 21-14, and it's the fair housing resolution. Just, again, says that we'll play by the rules and we'll,
I would move to approve.
And I'll second that.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That brings us to the packet for the power, water, and sewer.
I'd move to accept the packet from,
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Aye, motion carries. We've got a lot of signing to do after the meeting. Okay, anything else, Sarah?
No, that's all I have,
Okay.
other than we just made an appointment to our board on a totally separate matter.
Okay. All right, that brings us to the district court report, and every year Lisa gives us to us, and she thought she might make it down, but she has a hearing right now, so I told her I would just share it with you, Mel. And it just goes through what the district court numbers are for the last year, and they're not quite as high as 2019, but they're pretty high. So they've been pretty busy, and I'll just give you a copy of it if I
Thank you.
may, and then we won't have to read through it. And that was for information only, so we don't need any action on that. Last year she had 285 actions, and this year she has 274. And the years before that had been running around 250, so she's been busy.
Okay.
Okay, that brings us to commission reports. You guys have anything?
I don't.
nope,
Okay, public comment.
I don't have any public comment, but on the Facebook page, Steve Boyakis asks, does the county board post membership and vacancies anywhere on the county website, or are they available to examine anywhere? In other words, how do people find out if there's a vacancy on the board that they might wanna throw their hat in for?
We do have the board book. We don't put it on the website, but usually when there's a vacancy, we require the board to advertise.
Right.
So that's how we get it out to the public, is through advertising in our local papers.
Thank you.
So I had a question or two for Sarah, if I could.
Okay?
So the district, what is the legal or formalized name of the district? Is it not Teton County something or
It
another?
is Power Teton County Water and Sewer District.
Correct.
It's Power Dash
Teton
Teton
County.
County
Yeah.
Water, and Carol's very particular. She puts an and sign in it, and I don't know legally if it's the and sign or Andy, but it's Power Dash Teton County.
And then I'm assuming that you have a legal description of the boundaries of that, I mean, somewhere.
Yes, that's what I would love to chat with you about,
Okay.
exactly what they've got. They have the plat and things, but they're trying to, with the special assessment, they're trying to find out which properties should be included and which aren't, because it goes from the well to the district itself. So it's a different situation than just updating some lines in town or something like that.
Right.
So, and I think Russ had talked to you maybe a couple weeks ago.
He talked to me, but I don't think it was about boundaries. I forget what it was after that day, but it was something else.
Well, and James is really taking the lead on that. They have plats and things, so it may be something if we could just set up a quick meeting with you
Yeah.
to discuss exactly what's needed and.
Well, and I think getting a digital layer that's very easy to share would be
Yes.
important.
Yes.
I mean, because you're just, yeah.
That's why I told him, said you have to contact Paul. He's the guru. He has all of this now, and it'll be easier to go that way. Everything they have is, on paper
Yeah.
and actually squeezed down on a.
And I would say,
8.5
I
by
would say
11s.
this to, I mean, whoever really, the powers that be for the district, is that I can reproduce something if they have, but
Sure.
I can't produce the original. That isn't, either they have to do it or they need to hire an licensed engineer to do that. But I can reproduce it so that it's more user-friendly, and something that is a shareable layer, so. But I
Yes.
need that information
Okay.
first before I can reproduce it, so.
I actually have to stop by this afternoon to help Carl with some upgrades to some software so we're all compatible. And I will get what she has and talk to Camille and, because the engineering firm in the preliminary engineering report, I think they had some of that information.
Right.
I can either send you the report or I can probably go through it, or she can send us just that portion, taking it out of that huge document. We can take it out and get it to you. And then you'd have it electronically too to look at.
And why I bring all that up is that power otherwise has no boundaries. I mean, it's up to anybody's
Yeah.
best guess what power really means. So,
It's unincorporated.
yeah.
So yes, we do have information, but they really need to look at it because with the special assessment, they're talking about putting it on taxes at the end, and they really wanted to include it in monthly payments rather than that because, it's a heart attack at the end of the year with that. So they really need to have all of their ducks in a row and everything really laid out before we do the public hearings for all of that. Because that'll be a big piece of it.
And then I would also suggest that if I'm doing this, and we haven't done it already for Bynum, then we should be doing that for, again, Bynum's in the very same situation of, you kinda got some boundaries, and it's like when you run out of this road, you must be out of Bynum. But the water and sewer district should be a formalized layer
Should be
and where the
delineated.
boundaries
Yeah.
of that are. So I don't know who the proper contact is, who's got that information, but if I'm it'd be easy to do them both at the same time, so.
Ask Vicki, she's still on that board.
Yeah, well,
She texted me yesterday,
Really?
so, yeah, that's another thing.
After reading-
Counselors who you need to reach
Reading the
out.
Yeah,
article in the
they-
account, I don't think she's on that board anymore.
No.
Oh, is
She's
she
not.
not now? She was. She may be off now.
No, it's Corey Coverdale,
Barb Carpenter is
Laura
running for it.
Carpenter.
To my knowledge, Vicki's never been on that board,
No,
because she doesn't
she
own
lives
any
in
property
city
in
limits.
the district.
yeah, right.
Maybe I'm thinking of it on board.
You're thinking of buying irrigation.
Yeah.
It could be. Irrigation or maybe the conservation
Yeah, I
district.
think it
She's
tracks
on
her.
both of those,
Yeah.
yeah.
This part of the person.
Any further public comment? Questions?
We have a board meeting next Wednesday. You'll get the email on it in like an hour when I send it out.
Okay.
In Conrad or via Zoom. We can socially distance in Conrad or we can do it via Zoom. So
Okay.
I will get that information out and it'll go out on our website and things too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Do you need all this stuff signed
And
and
make
take with
that
you today, or?
easy for you, you can just replace that one instead of
Okay.
scratching stuff
No,
out.
I
Great.
don't
Thanks, Bob.
I need the environmental one today.